Chapter 27. In the end, conflicts are like black holes. They capture everything, and what they capture remains an artifact of mystery. Conflicts, boiled to their core, are mysteries. When did they begin? Why did they begin? What was the precise moment that caused the conflict to be born? If one traces these questions far enough into the past, where they actually lived as answers in one point in time, you can see the black hole forming like a zygote of self-interest colliding with other self-interests, sparring like friendly neighbors until suddenly a line is crossed and one punch lands too solidly, too intimately, and a black hole is born. Black holes can be destroyed, they can evaporate with time, but they usually implode in a burst of energy, and all of the things they had sucked into themselves are expelled just before the implosion. Of course, this has never been witnessed by human eyes, but it could happen. The better way is to kill the zygote, because once a black hole is born, it is, for all intents and purposes, invincible, especially if it is born of a dragon like Alim. When Alter approached her fellow travelers, she could see they were planning their various methods to keep the sea dragons from their land. She raised her hand as she approached the beach, and their conversation took an immediate shift.
"What did she tell you?"
One who implored. It was early morning. Alter glanced at the marks in the sand that could only be attributed to war strategies, guard postings in shorthand, flanks and measures of defense.
It looks like you're preparing for war,
Alter observed.
"Should we not? Yes, of course we are."
A chorus of voices responded.
Elaine will come with her army within 2 days unless we can kill her first.
And how would we do that?
Someone asked. Alter turned to Obsidian and pointed.
It has to be him with my help.
"And when would this happen?"
One who asked.
This evening.
So let me see if I understand correctly.
Obsidian began slowly.
You want me to kill the creature that stops time, shoots fire for hundreds of meters, sends sonar bursts that kill, and is highly intelligent. Do I have that right?
Alter nodded hesitantly.
I do have a plan.
And that is?
I want Soin to meet with Alaim. Only those two. I want this meeting to begin at sunset on her island, on her beach. She will feel safer there. I want Soin to convince her to avoid war, even if only for a day, a week, or a month. Avoid it.
She turned to Soin, who had been listening carefully and without any expression except one. He was nodding his head almost imperceptibly. Alter noticed.
Are you willing?
We are always willing to avoid war. If you believe this is our best way, we will do it. You have the best knowledge of any of us as to what we're up against. Besides, if we die in the process, we'll just shift to another facet or localization of our lives.
"Why Soin?"
One who asked.
"And why only him?"
The meeting has to be on her island. Oriel can only carry Soan. The largest bird I can transform into is an eagle, and I cannot carry any of you. We have no boat. It's too far to swim. Soan is the lightest of us all. It must be Soan.
"Why not one of you?"
One who asked. He pointed between Oriel and Alter.
Soin has shown themselves to be a peacemaker. They are the right choice. I'm sure of it. If you have a better view, please inform us now, or let's move on.
One who leaned over to his advisor, cupping his ear for the whisperer to opine discreetly, but the whisperer simply shook his head.
"We agree, let's move on."
Obsidian sighed.
And when Soen's meeting proves unsuccessful, delaying a day or a week, what difference does it make?
She and her army will know we tried to convince her to avoid war. Not because we are weak or defenseless, but because we are intelligent. And leaders fear one thing more than any other, and that is ruling over intelligent beings. Soin will leave an impression on her that will eat at her conscience.
Ah,
Obsidian interrupted with a wry chuckle.
you believe she has a conscience. Why?
Everyone has a conscience if they are sentient. To be sure, Not everyone's conscience is equal in quality and strength. But there is always a conscience, and if presented with intelligent insight, it can change decisions. We should first see if she can change. If we determine she cannot, then we will have no choice. We must kill her.
Alter paused.
And that is where you will come in.
She pointed at Obsidian.
Are you willing?
To kill the queen who wants to wage war on all of us?
Obsidian asked rhetorically.
I think you know the answer, but it has to be in total stealth. Otherwise, I will fail, and failure in this case is my death. And unlike Soin here, I do not know of any other facets to peer through.
He paused and smiled with an appropriate flare of sarcasm.
So, yeah, I want to be confident in our plan. I have one instinct when I'm cornered, and when that instinct is aroused, I will kill without thought of conscience or any other highbrow words.
He paused again.
However, I have one doubt that circles me.
And that is?
Alter said, her question hanging in the morning air.
Why would we trust you?
Why would you not?
How does the queen see you?
Obsidian continued his probe.
As her subject, perhaps her translator, I'm not really sure.
The first time we met you, you were with Adam and Eve. You vouched for them in our negotiations. And then you became the spokesperson for the queen and allowed her to speak through you as if you were her puppet. You go between here and the island and never seem to have any issues, as if you are trusted.
Obsidian looked around as his fellow travelers.
If you are trusted by the queen, then how can you expect us to trust you?
Your dilemma is understood.
Alter replied.
I will share with you something I am not proud of, but it is true. I was saved from drowning by Adam and Eve when I first arrived on this planet. If it weren't for them, I would be at the bottom of that sea.
She pointed behind her.
Because they saved me, gave me shelter, and asked me to help them in return, I became their diplomat with the werewolves.
She crossed her arms, pausing for a moment.
However, I learned just today that Adam and Eve are not exiled as rebels, but rather they are spies, working on behalf of the Queen.
They deceived us?
One who bellowed.
You deceived us? The whole peace agreement was just a ruse to... What? To get us to kill the queen?
Alter put her arms out as if she meant to block his shouted words.
I didn't know until about 2 hours ago. I went directly to them to discuss the situation, and I lied to them as to how we would kill the Queen. They are spies working on behalf of the Queen. They deceived me as much as they deceived you. I have no interest in helping them. And if I were you, I would tear up that peace agreement and operate as if Adam and Eve are extensions of the Queen. Because that's what they are.
Alter stared down at the ground, nervously tapping her foot on the sand. She knew that everything rested on her ability to convince them that she was with them, not the Queen.
Look at me, all of you, look at me. I am a servitor. I came to this planet the same way each of you did. I did not choose this place or my predicament. I am here for one reason, and one reason alone, to stop a war. I am not the pawn of a megalomaniac who presumes to be the god of this planet. While I understand your reluctance to trust me, have any of you brought a better solution to the inevitable war that waits at our threshold? Have you?
They shook their heads.
What I said earlier about conscience is a bit of a stretch, at least for me. The Queen will fear us. We are intelligent, independent, and we have the air dragon on our side. The first entities she will try to kill, perhaps even before the war starts, will be us.
She pointed at herself first, and then all of the travelers in a circular pattern. It was Soin who spoke first.
We trust you, Alter. We will meet with Elaine and do our very best to convince her not to wage war against us. If we fail, however, how will Obsidian deal with the Queen?
I'm not sure I trust her yet.
Obsidian said.
You're asking me to risk my life. I take my life as what it is. Here. Now I am not like the Phoenix or apparently Soin, so I need to make sure you are telling the truth before I put it on the line.
I would do it myself, but I have no weapon other than shape-shifting, and I do not know how to shape-shift into a fearsome creature like you. You are the only weapon we have that can kill the Queen and stop a war.
Do we need to kill her?
Oriel asked.
Couldn't we imprison her?
She's too powerful with too many weapons at her disposal. Besides, as a prisoner, some of her subjects would try to free her. And how would we ensure that that couldn't happen?
Could we send her back to her previous world somehow?
Oriel asked, looking around at her friends.
It is such a waste of a life for a creature of her magnificence.
Joe raised his arm, signaling his desire to finally speak.
There's no way to hold such a creature captive. She's too powerful. If Soan fails, we have no choice but to kill her. Perhaps doing so is the best way to return her to her previous world.
I agree with Joe.
One who stated. The others nodded their heads.
So what's the plan?
Obsidian said, as if he had forgotten his trust issues with Alter.
I will arrange the meeting. I will cast it as all of you have requested a negotiation summit between the Queen and Soan. Oriel will transport Soan to the island in the waning minutes of tonight's sunset. Obsidian and I will fly separately. When we get within eyesight of the island, I'll go to the beach, and you, Oriel, bring Soen. I'll make introductions and allow the Queen to use me as her translator. All this time, Obsidian circles the island as far away as he can keep it in sight.
Alter paused for a moment, deep in thought.
And this is the tricky part. Soen will need to signal that the negotiations went well or failed. Oriel will need to be close enough to unambiguously surmise whether it is a success or a failure. Once she knows that, she will find the circling obsidian and communicate if it was a success or failure. Then, Oriel returns to the beach and gathers up Soen. Once that is done, Obsidian dives and extinguishes the life of Alaim, assuming, of course, the negotiations fail.
You make it sound simple.
Obsidian remarked.
It is anything but simple.
Alter said.
If the signals aren't made unambiguously, then we must agree to abort Obsidian's mission.
Why?
One who shouted.
If Obsidian has a clear shot regardless of what was negotiated, he should kill the Queen. Do we not all want the same thing? To avoid a war? This plan sounds reasonable, and regardless of what the Queen agrees to, if we have the opportunity to kill her, we should take it.
There were many heads nodding, but none more enthusiastically than Obsidian's.
As the one who will do the killing, I believe I should make the call. If I feel I can do it because I am undetected, conditions are right, Soen, Oriel, and Alter are all out of the way. I should be the one to decide.
The travelers all nodded except Alter.
If Oriel tells you that the negotiations are a success, you need to fly home. There will be no killing if an agreement is made. To do so would taint us, and we would never be able to negotiate with the sea dragons in the future. Agreed?
Alter looked around the faces of her fellow travelers, seeking their approval. One, who was shaking his head, his eyes closed.
Once a person believes they are a lord over all others, truly believes this, they are not capable of agreeing to anything. Whatever she says to Soan, it will be a lie. She will make no concessions unless she does so for her own purposes to deceive.
Soen cleared his throat.
We will signal to you, Oriel. If we stand and throw a stone to the sea, if you see us do that, the negotiations were a success. If we stand and walk to the shoreline, they were a failure. Understood?
Oriel nodded.
Understood.
As for killing the Queen, regardless of how our negotiations go, because we are the ones negotiating, we should decide. If we signal by throwing a stone, we want to know before we go that the Queen will not be harmed, at least not tonight. If we cannot find this agreement, we regretfully decline to be the negotiator, and you will have to make other arrangements.
There was an immediate vacuum of silence. Alter looked at each individual one at a time, as if probing their faces to see if they agreed or not.
I think we all agreed to allow Soan to decide. Obsidian will follow the rule we agreed to, which is that Soan's decision is the final decision. Do I understand that correctly?
Once again, Alter looked at each one to ensure they agreed. They all did, some more enthusiastically than others. A few more details were appended to the plan, but generally, the plan seemed sound. Alter flew off to the island in search of Elaine to tell her that a negotiation meeting with Soyin was a critical next step. Alter rehearsed her plea to Queen Elaine, hoping it would be sufficient to convince her to meet. Everything else was contingent on that. She had to succeed.